We're now recording. Maxine, control yourself.
I'm very uncontrolled.
Welcome to Courtney on Health, heard on MalcolmPresents.com. Anyway, guys, are we all set for Halloween?
Well, I'm getting there. I got this thing I have to put on my mailbox or something. And I got my pumpkin. And I got like 5 pumpkins outside, which I should probably bring in tomorrow so they don't go flying in the weather. So anyway.
It's not till the 31st, right?
Okay.
When is Halloween?
31st, but we're getting some weather tomorrow.
And that's Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, one breaking news. It's raining in Los Angeles today.
Well, you need it. That's a good thing.
In Los Angeles, it's fun. But I hear up in San Francisco, they're having floods.
Yeah.
They're having the monsoon coming and landslides.
It's called a cyclone bomb or something. I don't know. It gets crazier every day.
Well, welcome.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay, you give us your intro, Max.
I'm gonna give it to you with this
Okay.
witchy thing because it's so this is the way it's gonna go.
Okay.
So hi Courtney and hi Malcolm and welcome to Courtney on Health, a Zoomcast series about how to get through these lingering COVID-19 times. Wow, it's just crazy out there. Getting a little better, but then you hear all sorts of weird things. But anyway, back to this. So Courtney has tips on nutrition and exercise. She's a registered dietitian with a Master of Science in Nutrition and Applied Physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional and health consultant around the globe, not just the New York metro area, and will help guide you on a path to wellness and health. So you see, I got this, one of these props for Halloween that I usually put out there. And then I have, now it's me.
Oh.
But then I have, this is not a real pumpkin, but
Really?
I use it for candy sometimes. But anyway, so into the theme is a poem called Mr. Macklin's Jack-O-Lantern by David McCord. He lived to the age of 100. He born in 1897, died in 1997. So here we go. Mr. Macklin takes his knife and carves the yellow pumpkin face. 3 holes bring eyes and nose to life. The mouth has 13 teeth in place. Then Mr. Macklin, just for fun, transfers the corncob pipe from his wry mouth to Jack's, and everyone dies laughing. Oh, what fun it is till Mr. Macklin draws the shade and the lights the candle in Jack's skull. Then all the inside dark is made as spooky and as horrible as Halloween and creepy crawl. The shadows on the tool house floor with Jack's face dancing on the wall. Oh, Mr. Macklin, where's the door? So trick-or-treating is, and the jack-o'-lanterns will be out very soon. And it's the season, it is the season for ghosts, goblins, jack-o'-lanterns, and all things spooky. Bags of assorted Milky Ways, candy corn, Hershey's chocolate, Sour Patch Kids, and my favorite, Reese's peanut butter cups. Yes, there is peanut butter in Reese's. Isn't that healthy? Unless you're allergic. Are flying off the shelves. But are they flying? Consumers are expected to spend $3 billion in candy this year, and over half of all parents stash Hollywood candy to enjoy it after the holiday. Again, love those Reese's. Yep, candy is on everyone's mind for better or worse. How much of what we are eating this fall will add to our body weight? During the holiday season, we need to be conscious of maintaining a healthy, balanced diet. Courtney will give us information about how we can do that and watch our weight during this time of year. So don't get spooked. Watch out for the tricks and enjoy the treats.
Yeah.
And Courtney, you have to tell us about these treats and how we managed to get through all this. And you're in the spirit too. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, please.
Yeah.
Please, absolutely.
Well, I have a sure way of avoiding all that, overeating of the candy.
Yeah.
The next morning you wake up and you throw it all out.
Well,
Or donate it.
So
don't keep it in the house.
Yeah, that's actually one of the suggestions. But Maxine, you brought up something in your intro about weight gain, and I know that for a very long time, there was we know now it's a slight exaggeration, and that the thinking was the average American gained 5 pounds between Halloween and New Year's Day. So after the data was actually combed through and we took a look at it, it really ends up only being about 1 pound between Halloween and New Year's Eve, which in its, in a bubble is not so bad, except that the bigger issue is that 1 pound every year unchecked at the end of 5-10 years, you can see how it can be a problem. So for some people, it really is a really difficult time. They struggle with it, but Halloween doesn't have to be scary for your body, for your mind, or for your soul. No, not scary at all. So I'm going to break apart today into sort of 2 categories, sort of the weight management, like some tricks on how to continue to meet your weight management goals throughout the Halloween season, and then going into the holidays, and then through the vision of a child, right? What you can do to help with your child in terms of how much candy, how to manage it, keeping it in the house, and so forth. So some good tricks to stick with your goals would be to, first of all, assess your vulnerability. Not everybody struggles with having some candy in the home, the weeks before Halloween and then a couple of weeks afterwards. They've got tremendous self-control. It's that interesting to them. Halloween comes and goes and it's not a big deal. But for many people, it is. So you really need to sort of assess, is this going to be a problem for me? And if that is your starting place, do you need to have candy in the house at all? And perhaps if you don't have trick-or-treaters, or don't have children who are still trick-or-treating, that might be one way around that. But for most people, they want to get into the spirit of things. They are going to have the candy around. So the one at the top of the list would be certainly no need to have the candy in your home by October 1st. I can't tell you how many, I've seen post after post, literally from the last week of September, of people like spilling out all the candy that they've purchased way back at the end of September, which again, if you don't have any struggle with issues of overeating candy, this is fine, but it ends up putting many people in a very tough spot to manage their control. So don't bring it in the house earlier than you need to. Quite frankly, this week is fine. You can even find candy. I wouldn't wait too long. Last year, I waited a little too long. I think I got out there the day before and they started pulling the candy and putting out Christmas stuff. So it almost backfired on me. But some point the week before is probably going to be the case. Buy the candy you don't like or don't like.
Oh, no, my husband's not doing that. I can tell you. We didn't
just-
buy ours yet. So
Just a suggestion, and I wouldn't have purchased mine either, except for the fact that I needed some props, for today. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You also don't want to be the house that gets booed. We're going to talk about that when we talk about kids.
Okay, Courtney, the candy you don't want, you have my address, ship it over.
You got it. You are going to be on the donation list, Malcolm. Do not worry.
So what candy did you get?
Well, I got mostly because, much like you, Maxine, this is a household favorite. This is Reese's peanut butter.
Yeah, baby, that's me.
Absolutely.
I'm coming over.
And I got some other little goodies in there. I try and do a mix of stuff, not just peanut butter stuff. I'm mindful of kids who've got peanut allergies and so forth. So I do a mix of stuff. But I buy, it's honestly mostly chocolate based, but we'll talk about my son's favorites in a little bit. Buying the smallest sizes that you can find. First of all, it's easier. It's kids, they can pick, what they want out of there. If you're doing individual picks, some people are doing little bags this year. So it's all, separately wrapped. That is totally fine. But in many cases, it keeps you honest. If you're trying to watch your calories, you can't get into too much trouble if you stick to just 1 or 2 small snack size options. Now it's 2 pieces, probably around this size. You're still going to run yourself about somewhere between 200 and 300 calories, but still, if you can keep it to this size, sometimes all you really need is the taste of it, the small taste of the treat, and then you're fine. So by sticking to the smaller sizes, it lessens the chance of you getting into too much trouble. We know that depriving oneself And this is with Halloween candy, but it's also with really any treats or decadent desserts that we're talking about, is going to backfire on you. There is lots of data to support the fact that individuals who are allowed moderate intakes of, in this case, candy, sweets, treats, and things like that, in the long run have healthier weight, largely due to the fact that they're able to self-moderate and regulate their intake overall, because it's not looked at as something like this, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get it, I never get it, so you go overboard or you tend to binge. So we know that the deprivation, like I'm not going to touch a bite of it, for many folks ends up shooting them in the foot. So I would not suggest that as a technique. Again, if you're really struggling with trying to keep your weight management goals. Do you guys freeze candy at all?
Do we what?
No, I don't. Not generally. Is that something that is a good idea?
So I would say at the end of Halloween, or as we move, if you've got a lot of stuff around between now and, the holiday season, keeping it in the freezer. Now, some people say, well, you know what? I love the Snickers frozen. That makes it even, tastier to me. That's fine. But the reality is it is much harder to chew through very quickly frozen candy. So it automatically slows you down. So it's a great strategy to, first of all, keeps you from having to throw it out necessarily, but keep a few pieces in there. And in the long run, it'll make it harder for you to eat. Go through it very, very quickly.
Are there any candies healthier than other candies?
I gotta be honest with you. So when we come to the kids, and I'll address it now since you brought it up, generally your chocolates, are they healthier? Well, if they're dark chocolate, we've talked about this, it's going to have some small amount of antioxidants in it, but I think all the sugar that's in there really outweighs any antioxidant capacity that's in there. But from a dental perspective, I think we do need to get a dentist on here at some point, because it melts away more readily. At least it puts you at a lower risk of really, killing your teeth with that sticky, chewy, sugary stuff that really lodges itself within your teeth, and really makes an issue for cavities, dental caries. So is it healthier? Marginally. Is it better for your teeth? Probably. But the reality is it's Halloween, right? I mean, we're not looking at this as, the healthiest of holidays. We're just trying to give some tips to try and, make it so that at the end of it, you're not feeling so badly because you feel like you blew your meal plan or blew your goals. It's one day, or it's a period of time. Using some of the techniques are helpful. Adults go to a lot of Halloween parties too. So be really mindful of your alcohol calories. So that pumpkin martini may sound really, really good, and it probably is, but do be aware that, at $400 or $500 a pop, 500 calories a pop, let's hope they're not $500 a pop, that they're, it's hard to, really make up for that if you're, going to be eating, obviously regular food throughout the day.
Cauliflower is popular these days, like in a lot of things, and they disguise it in things. So how about like chocolate covered cauliflower? You still have the chocolate, but then you got the cauliflower. I wonder if it just, don't beat me up, people.
No,
don't beat me up.
Whatever helps you.
You can dip the cauliflower like a fondue, you dip things. Usually it's fruit, which is but maybe you could try something new. Who knows? If you have enough pumpkin martinis, you can do that, right?
It's simple. You take the chocolate covering off the cauliflower and you throw the cauliflower out.
Oh my gosh.
Simple.
Back to reality, folks.
I'm going back to my 10-year-old. I'm going back to my 10-year-old Malcolm.
Yeah. I thought you still were your 10-year-old Malcolm.
At times.
Okay.
The thing that I worry about, just getting a little on the serious side, of these weird people that give, the candies out that's tainted with things, or you hear razor blades and certain, poisons in candy, and razor blades in apples.
I think there's first of all, no, I can't think of anybody still giving out apples anymore. I haven't, I mean, so no, everything is sealed. We're going to talk about that when we get to kids and a little bit about what you should do as a parent, in case your kids are not old enough to kind of self-direct themselves through that. But most parents know that you buy sealed pieces, whether it be bags of chips or things like this, so that you avoid those issues. Otherwise,
you have to tell your kids not to eat anything before you take a look at them.
good luck with that, but yeah, so.
And the new thing I worry about, which I was just hearing on the radio the other day, the gummy bears. Because a gummy bear is not a gummy bear anymore.
Why, because it's edible?
They have the THC in them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Malcolm.
No, people are gonna give that out, and I guarantee you, we'll speak next week.
Oh my
There'll
gosh,
be a story.
when have you become Daniel Downer? My goodness, this is.
He's watching too much news. Stop
All right,
watching the
back to
news.
show.
Let's get back to
I was raised in Brooklyn.
to a topic that, yes, let's get back to Courtney, pick it up. Come on.
So modeling good behavior, okay, so that was bad behavior. Modeling good behavior is the best way for your children to pick up on better life skills in the long run. So asking them, if you're looking through like all these tips online, don't ask them to hide the candy for you because you are having a difficult time with self-control. What does that teach them? It teaches them that your parent needs to be deceitful. So it's not a great way, nor should you, within reason, hide the candy from your kids. And again, we're going to talk about, kiddos in just a second here. With most people still working from home, many people have gone back to their offices, but certainly last season, with almost everybody working at home, keeping large amounts of candy in the house around Halloween time when you are just a few short steps away from it is not a great idea. Couple that with a busy day where you might have skipped a meal, you're hungry, you don't have time to prep a lunch. Suddenly, this becomes lunch and you get into a little bit of trouble. So make sure you try to not skip meals if you during the couple of days leading up to Halloween, when all that candy is still sitting around the house. Brush your teeth before you give out candy. So after you've had your dinner, it's Halloween night, you're ready to hand out candy to the kids, or you're going to go trick-or-treating with your kids, brush your teeth with a super minty toothpaste to clear your palate, so that you don't have the residue of the piece of candy you might have had right after dinner hanging around with you. It's not food science. It's not even terribly sophisticated, but is a great trick to trick your brain and your body's like, you know what, I'm done. And my mouth is fresh and I don't want to disrupt that. For some people, it's a great tip, not even around Halloween time, but to help with monitoring and regulating how much food they eat throughout the day. Now with kids, so yep, you want to include definitely want to include some of their favorites in there, right? I know some parents, and this is fine. One of the trends has been over the years, let's try giving out pencils and stickers and little toys. What I've noticed over the last couple of years, however, is pencils get used, but some of these little plastic toys end up just getting into the house. The kids are done with it after a day, and then it's just a bunch of plastic around your home. So I think there's been this movement away from that because it just ends up being more unnecessary purchasing of plastic around. But still, it's a choice for parents to make. Chips, pretzels, the saltier, savory options, you get away from the sugar, but you might not necessarily be getting away from the calorie perspective. And the reality is your kids are going to have their favorites, just like you do. They have their favorite too. So you want to make sure that your child specifically has got some of the faves in your candy bucket, and then let them trade. There's a rite of passage to have your kiddos trading after a night of trick-or-treating. So they come in, if you're more comfortable, they have masks on, they open up the bags, and then they trade out. It's a good time, back to your point, Malcolm, to go through, certainly encourage your kids. For little kids, you're obviously trick-or-treating with them. Older kids tend to like to scoot around, run ahead, and go do their thing on certain blocks. I know they do that here on our block, but it's a good time to assess the hall. right? What's in there? Does your child have allergies? Most older kids are a little bit more aware of what they can and cannot eat. So know to put it aside. But kids who might be sort of on that cusp where they have a little bit more independence might need a little bit more guidance. Is your child somebody who's sensitive to food coloring? Then maybe you want to do, take a look and see at some of the candies that are in there and perhaps pull out the ones that have, maybe some of the red dye, yellow dye in there that may be a problem for them.
You mean no more M&Ms?
Oh, no, are you kidding? No, I think they're using a different red, but they're still the number one candy. And of course, checking for choking hazards. And that's really more the case, as many people know, for the real littles, so 3 and under. Very rarely is there a 3-year-old toddling around trick-or-treating on their own. So parents obviously should, but you always want to be careful and comb through. You're right, Malcolm, to look for bags, pieces that have been opened. It's not worth the risk. Those aren't even worth, in my opinion, and what's recommended to donating, because you really just don't know what's, why it's been opened. So you want to, just from a safety perspective, that's what you want to do. Keep it fixed. Keep the candy in your house. You have to discuss this, involve your kids in the process. Keep the candy around for a fixed amount of time after Halloween, right? After that time, you look through it. Okay, and that's the time to decide, what gets donated. And there are lots of different avenues for parents, caregivers to donate candy. Community centers, churches, synagogues, schools, dentist's office, which I know the irony is very, very thick, but they collect it. I think that's why they do it, because it's funny. And then in many cases, it's donated to places where children don't have access necessarily to trick-or-treating or anything, that festivities around Halloween. And many times it's sent over to our troops who don't get typically a whole lot of candy. So there are lots of ways. You just have to do a little bit of investigating, but lots of places in the community for you to donate the candy. It gets the kids involved in the process. And the one thing I try to encourage, at least with my kiddos, is don't pick out the stuff that's your favorites. All right, and then give away all the stuff that you can't stand. You got to make sure it's divided up evenly so that what's given away has got some of your faves too. It teaches a good lesson in sort of self-regulating, what you have and the concept of donating. If you've got a kid who's maybe sick, maybe there's and I remember this vividly, and it stayed with me as an adult. Well, there was a Halloween where I was sick and I had to stay home, and I had friends who went trick-or-treating who dropped off a bag of stuff with my mom and dad for me because I didn't get a chance to go out. So, if your friend, your kid's friend is home or can't go out, maybe it would be a nice gesture to at least offer. Obviously check with parents first to see if maybe it would be okay if you do a small collection of treats for the child who can't go out. It sends a nice message of, it's not just about all the candy. We got to dedicate a little bit of ourselves, to others as well.
I don't know if they still have it, but when I was a kid and I was one of the kids in charge of it, we would trick or treat for UNICEF. We'd get the orange containers, and my friend and I would kind of dressed up almost like UN or Stuart, whatever, and we'd use a fake British accent. We'd knock on the door, trick or treat for UNICEF, United Nations Children Fund, and that's what we did because we were both goofballs, but we collected a lot of money. And I got to go to the UN every year to drop it off, which was like really cool.
That's a big deal. Yeah,
it was a big deal, and I kept through it through high school. I was the district head in high school, and it was something I loved. I don't know.
I remember it with my daughter, but since we've moved here, I cannot recall. And it always was sent home, at least in my daughter's case, when through schools. And that's not sent home through the schools anymore. And I don't know what happened to it. That's a really interesting point. I wonder if that's still something.
Gotta check it out. We try to get people to give us dollars, and that was in the 60s.
Well,
sometimes we did.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I decided to poll my son and some of his friends for a very, this wasn't very scientific, but nonetheless, if they were offered 50 cents their piece of candy or like a salty snack, like a bag of chips or pretzels or something like that. And those were their three choices, trick or treating. Which one would they pick? So initially, most of the responses I was getting was absolutely my favorite candy, with a few sprinklings of the money. And then once then when Jack really thought about it, he's like, wait a minute, if I have my own money, I can go buy my favorite candy. So I change it. I want the
I want the money. That's a smart move.
As a kid, I always liked the money. And for some reason in my neighborhood, I guess especially the older people, they gave money instead of candy. I guess it was easier to go to the store, and I think it was pennies or nickels or dimes. And I remember at the end of the night, I used to count up the money. It was delighting, like 1, 5, 6.
This
10.
year is trick or treat for cryptocurrency. No.
Trick or treat for Bitcoin.
So, you've got a pumpkin Bitcoin, please? No, sorry.
Something, no matter how much they explain it, I get confused about Bitcoins.
Don't worry about it. I just was making a joke. Trick or treat for Bitcoins. Let's have Jack say that to somebody he knows. I'd like to see what the response would be.
Oh my gosh, I think that would be
tell Jack to
hilarious.
quit trick or treat for Bitcoin.
I think so. It was just interesting to see, some people, I think he gets some money every once in a while, in the basket. But so it's supposed to be a fun, and it is. It's all about the kids. Let them have fun. Manage, again, you got to get the one encouraging thing that I would say is, let them have some stuff, let them pick it, but really discuss with your child the fixed amount of time that candy will be in the house, what will be given away, why you donate and give some away. And then at the end of that time, it's done. It's one of the beauties of Halloween is that it's only once a year. So let them enjoy it. But that way you don't get into too much trouble in terms of it's still being around the house if you've got bag after bag full of not only your candy that you never fully gave away, plus your kids.
But the survey, the article said that adults keep a stash. Yeah. Where is that stash? And if the kids ever find out it's in mom and dad's closet or in their drawer in their bedroom, go find the stash that's there, because I could see that happening.
I can see that happening too. I think it's a good also if you're trick-or-treating with your kids, or if they're going out. I know they're usually excited and they just want to head out the door, but try to give them some dinner before they head out. It's not going to necessarily keep them from eating, a ton of candy that particular night. But at least, you've gotten something somewhat nutritious in there, and at least they won't be completely ravenous, once they get out. And make sure they've had enough, enough to drink, water, hydration, sugar, increases thirst, so chances, and all that walking around. If your kid will let you walk with them, be a good role model in terms of walking around. It tends to be a super fun night. So make it that way and make it, enjoyable. So
yeah, it's really fun in this area too.
Yeah,
this is a great, we're on a great block. So
Reese's is one of the #1 candies. And it has been on the top of the list. Somebody mentioned M&Ms before. So M&Ms, top of the list. In fact, I asked Jack how he would rank his candy preference. And Reese's at the top. So Maxine, you and I.
Jack and I have something very much in common.
Airheads are on there, which are, the stuff I just said, try to not, it's like that sticky.
It's like taffy, right? Like
it is.
Kind of.
M&Ms and, but you have some fun. I have a couple of things here that I put together, if you have the time. And again, that's a big F. I know parents and caregivers are stretched. And I try not to do these things to make people feel badly that they can't, but if you have the time to do fun things, like fun snacks like this, they're clementines. I'm going to actually post these, but I've turned them into little jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh, how cute.
So you can use celery or like a little slice of pickle up there. That's a food grade marker that I use to put pictures on there. If you've got fun cookie cutter shapes, you can do sandwiches cut out in the shapes of, ghosts and goblins and witches and pumpkins and things like that. And it makes it a little bit fun. It's totally not necessary, but again, it's a fun holiday. So sometimes it is, if you got the time, it makes it a little bit more interesting. I'm actually making, and I will post this, feet loaf. It's one of my favorites around here.
Feet loaf?
Feet loaf.
Eat loaf?
F-E-E-T, loaf, yes. So
Is
the
it
good thing about-
meatloaf? What's
It's-
meatloaf?
You got it. It's turkey meatloaf. So although it does sound gross, and when you see the picture, you will look at it, and that's the point, for it to look gross. It's Halloween. But it is turkey meatloaf. We do have to eat here at, Courtney's house. So it covers two things. It's a fun thing to look at, and I get some turkey meatloaf into my fams.
Okay, now the question, we're almost end of time. Do you dress up in costume? Either of you?
Me?
I will do like this. I might be this. I have a witch's hat that I can do. Last year I was a hover mom, and I had
A hover
scope
mom?
on. I bought a little helicopter hat.
A helicopter mom. Oh, that's
And then I
funny.
had my mom, I had mom in letters on my jacket. It was supposed to be ironic. My daughter looked at me and was like, yeah, it's not ironic.
It's Big Mother is watching you.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, last year was an anomaly. I mean, I would, I think Courtney and I we get about 8 to 10 door knocks with 8 to 10 kids in each one, right? I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
so by the time the night's over, you're going to be giving out 80 to 100, kids. But last year was just,
Yeah, well, last year.
I hope it's better this year. Last year, I donated the candy. One of our neighbors, who was collecting it, and I
Yeah.
donated most of it. And I think they sent it to a veterans place.
Yeah.
So that, if push comes to shove, that's what I'll do again. But
So do any of your neighbors have Halloween parties for adults? They do it, they did it in Hollywood a lot, where.
we did in the city. I mean, I don't know if they're having a Halloween parade. I mean, I used to go to some Halloween parties, but I think during this pandemic, I think it's a little, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the last year's been weird. There's a couple of people in town who throw some pretty fun Halloween parties for adults, and they're great fun. And you have to wear a costume. Costume's not optional, which makes it fun. So,
Right.
but yeah, it has been a little odd these last couple of years. But it'll get back to it again.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, guys, have a say. We're at the end of time. Have a safe and a sound Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy. Yep, I got my pumpkin.
Yeah.
I got my witch.
So are you telling us it's not that good to lose too much weight?
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise you'll turn into that one there.
Anyway, guys, have fun, be safe.
All right, I'll sign off.
You sign off.
I'll sign off. In the Halloween spirit, we're doing the Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. That actually, Bobby Boris Pickett, I met, and my son, when my brothers did a tour with him, I'm sorry, but I can't. He went over to my son, and in that Monster Mash voice, Elon was about to take a donut. They were giving everybody, the cast and crew, every donut. He takes his donut out of his hands, and my son, he was like 3 or 4. He crushes it and goes, and it's going down. The Monster Mash guy made my son cry. And the next day he felt so bad. He brought extra suffering. It was so I actually had a Monster Mash in person. So anyway, thanks for joining us here today on Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and visit the website, CourtneyGravities.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com. Courtney on Health, Smart Sound Nutrition, Strong Safe Fitness. We'll catch you next time after the Great Pumpkin rises from the pumpkin patch, and Charlie Brown and Linus find it or something. I don't know.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.